mainly on bridging the technology gap, the gap between technology and society, and trying to bring all the technology developments to all the markets in society. So I'm going to, well, we've seen all this morning how the technology developments are on the right path. We have a lot of solutions, a lot of technological innovations which are increasing the possibilities on energy refurbishment. But unfortunately, the market has another pace. So unfortunately, the demand for energy refurbishment is still quite low, so we need to work on that. The good news is that the money is there. The financial sector sees the energy and climate investments as an opportunity, so they see that in the political agendas there's always this direction to an energy transition that involves also energy refurbishment of buildings. So they see this will mean a huge investment of money, and there they are to lend it. So they see that as an opportunity, but we still have many barriers to deliver all these solutions to the market. And which are those barriers? Well, according to this report from the Energy Efficiency Financial Institutions Group, which is a group from several financial institutions in Europe, they identified as the main barriers those that are listed here. So split incentives, this is very present in the energy refurbishment of buildings. Of course, if I am renting an apartment or if I am a business company renting an office and I want to renovate it, I will need to convince my landlord. So this takes time, this takes effort. You have to have your ideas very clear on what you want and so on. So this is still one of the main barriers. Also, when we talk about renovation, compared to other sustainable energy solutions like PV, for example, we still have very long payback times. We are talking about sometimes 15 or 20 years. So this means a certain commitment also, and this is also one of the main barriers. The transaction cost. So if I want to buy a car, I go to the car shop and they will provide me with all the information, they will provide me with the financial solution, they will provide me with the clear delivering times and so on. If I want to renovate my building, I know it's different, a completely different case, but from the moment that you're starting to consider to do a renovation to the moment that you get it done, you really have to go through a long path of different actors, different opinions. Then you have to face the commercial banks, and they will ask you for different papers, different ways of presenting the information. So you still have very high transaction costs for the energy renovation. And that considering that you are already willing to do that. So that's an additional barrier. Lack of standardization also related to all these processes. Also, we have a lack of financial products adapted to energy efficiency. So coming back to the car example, if I want to buy a car, I go to the bank, they will give me a loan easily, they will ask for my payroll, and that's it. Energy efficiency will bring me more purchasing power because I do this investment and this will make me save money. So financial institutions should see that as an opportunity, and as a guarantee itself for repaying the loan. So it should be easier to get a loan to renovate your building with energy efficiency standards than to get a loan for a product that it's going to be devaluated from the day one that I buy it. And this has no sense, and this has to advance to make some progress. And also, well, some market actors may have difficulties to access to finance, like SMEs or the residential sector. So here I will try to provide a big picture, so I won't be able to go into all the details from the experiences that I will explain. There are some strategies that are being put in place in some places to smooth the path for creating these more suitable conditions in the market. And then I will explain some success cases of specific projects or programs that are trying to tackle all these issues. Well, first of all, I want to mention that all this that I'm going to present is the result of an H2020 project called Invest. And all the information that I'm going to say can be deepened and can be further looked for in the website. You will also find in the table outside some guides that we've made that will summarize all that I'm going to explain here. So if I go through the things very fast, you'll have other support, and of course you can ask me afterwards. So strategies, what can we do to create the right market conditions to energy refurbishment? In the first place, we have to create and to enhance this demand. We have to raise awareness on the potential clients and target profiles on the multiple benefits of the energy renovation. And in the first presentation this morning, someone was saying, okay, we have to change the concept from energy saving to increasing comfort, and I think that this is the cornerstone of creating more demand on energy refurbishment. We have to increase the trust in the benefits, and also we have to support in the decision-making process, because we all know here the multiple benefits and we have certain criteria, but the main of the population doesn't have. So some of these strategies that are being put in place are on this line and are mainly supporting services that provide technical, legal, and financial advice to several types of target groups. For example, you have in Navarra, in Spain, in a region in Spain, the project EFI District is supporting the residential sector in this decision making. The REFIT is a project that is being put in place in London also to support all these decision-making and other measures for public buildings. And then in Ireland you have these super homes, which is like a one-stop shop that is accompanying all the interested and the citizens to all the process to energy renovation. Another way to create demand is to create incentives for these investments. How can we create incentives? Well, the more obvious thing is to create tax exemptions, for example. We have some examples here in Spain, but also another example is in Germany, where the Department of Finance of the country does very important tax exemptions on industries that are energy renovating their installations. Also in the United States, they have this program called Title 17, which is a guarantee program. So when you are trying to put a new technology in the market and it's still not proven to function in the market, and you would go to a commercial bank to ask for a loan to start the process, then they would say, okay, but I have no certainty that this is gonna work. Then here, the department provides the guarantee that, okay, if it doesn't work, I will pay for it. So it's a guarantee program for new technologies that are being introduced in the market. And the Finance Lab, it's a similar thing, but they have created an insurance of the energy savings. So if I decide, if I am an SME, this is for small and medium enterprises, if I decide to make energy renovation and the company is telling me, okay, you're going to save, I don't know, 5,000 euros a year related to the energy savings. If I don't get it, I have this insurance that is going to pay me for this. So this is a mechanism also to increase trust within the potential promoters of this energy renovation. Okay. Well, other strategies what they are looking for is to standardize the processes. As I said, if you want to ask for a loan for renovating your building, you have to go yourself to different banks. They are going to ask for different information in a different way. This is long, it's time consuming, and it takes a lot of effort too. So some projects are starting to develop systems to increase this standardization. For example, you have this investor confidence project, and what they do is they have prepared all the protocols related to the due diligence for a sustainable energy project, including also energy renovation. And once you've gone through all this due diligence, you will have this seal, and they will present this project to their community of investors. So it's a way to standardize. You do this due diligence one time, and then you can show it to the different potential investors. Of course, you have other seals. You have this EEDAP project, which offers protocols and data on energy efficient mortgages. And another strategy to increase, to prepare the market and increase this demand is to increase the bankability of the projects. Once we started the Energy Invest project, what we saw was that these very small projects had their way to be funded, like putting a PV panel in the roof. The large, big infrastructure projects, they had also their way to finance. But the medium-scale projects were the ones that were faced with the wall and couldn't find this finance. So one of the main strategies to make these medium projects bankable, more bankable, are to aggregate them. If you aggregate them, you can take advantage of the scale economies. You can also, not only for the equipment, but also for the service provider. And you can also take advantage of the reduced transaction cost, because you're going to group, to bundle similar projects, and you're going to go through all the process together. And in that sense, you have several experiences also targeting different kind profiles of groups. For example, in Padova, you have the Padova FIT, which targets residential sector, and what they do is to bundle several investments, and they do a single tender for an energy service provider, and they do this, and this also makes the work more appealing for the energy service companies, because the residential sector is not one of their best clients, in the sense that it's very segregated, it's very diverse, and it's very difficult to find guarantees and to control the process of monitoring the energy savings. So then you have similar idea in Extremadura with the project GreenerX, which what they did is the same, to bundle several small projects but for public buildings. Also in Torino, there's an interesting experience of grouping several tenders for energy refurbishment, and the National Association of ESCOs, of energy service companies, also does this for their clients. So they do like a portfolio of different projects, so to present it to the different institutions, and then get easier access to the finance. So considering the specific financial instruments and the program, so the success case, let's say, well, a first tool that I'm sure that you all know is the energy performance contracts. So do you know what this is, or no? Okay. Okay, an energy performance contract is a tool to implement an energy project, and you implement both the technical solution and the financial one, meaning, so if I'm the business model associated to the energy performance contract are the ESCOs, the energy service companies, okay? So the energy service company offers to the client the technical solution, but they also offers the financial solution linked to the savings that they are going to produce thanks to their action. So you have a certain amount of yearly annual costs, and then you implement certain measures. So this energy service company, this ESCO, implements the measures and they produce energy savings. They are paid back thanks to these energy savings. And once this payback is done, then, well, the client takes all the savings. So this is a business model that it's being used now largely in the public sector mainly, but also in the industry sector. But it's very interesting for the public sector, but because, as you know, they can have very strong limitations on indebtedness, and also on taking for having their balance sheets affected somehow. So maybe they have the money, but they cannot invest it because they cannot affect their balance sheets. So this is a way that they don't have to do anything, and it doesn't impact the balance sheet. And considering what I was saying before, that the energy renovation market still has a low demand, that these kind of companies, they are not operating in the residential sector because it's a difficult sector for them, then what we are seeing is that most of the initiatives related to that are being driven by the public authorities. So we are seeing all over Europe the apparition of public energy service companies that are targeting residential sector or public sector, because it's a sector that otherwise wouldn't be still maybe financially viable. We are starting also to see, well, there's a long time that there are many investment funds that are specifically targeting the energy efficiency investments. We have some that are driven by public authorities, like the European Energy Efficiency Fund, which is European. You have the London Fund, you have the New York Green Bank too, but you also have commercial banks that are developing these specific investment funds. These funds are based on equity, so they invest their money in a project and they expect it to grow and then, well, take part of the profits. We are seeing also how revolving funds are appearing in the energy efficiency market. These type of funds are created to have some impact in a specific domain. What does they do? So they do loans with an interest, and this interest is used to enlarge the fund and keep having impact on this specific issue that is the mission of the fund. And in that case, it's energy efficiency. And also, as before, we have some, well, mainly they are driven by public authorities, but we have strange cases like the Harvard University, where they have an energy or sustainability fund for renovating their buildings. Crowdfunding. This might seem maybe a little, I don't know, anecdotic, but peer-to-peer is becoming more present in all our lives, in the IT, in learning, in everything, and also in energy efficiency financing. So crowdfunding doesn't mean only donation, but we have platforms and we have systems of crowd lending, for example. So several people, hundreds of people, lend money to a project with an interest that is usually much more higher than the interest that the commercial banks can give it to you if you have this in a deposit. And some projects on energy refurbishment have already been funded through this mechanism. So it's also a financial tool to consider. We have also crowd equity, which means that you can invest your money and then you can get the profits, but on a percentage based on the growth of the project. And this is more used for renewable energy generation. But crowd lending it's already being used for energy renovation. Also, the climate bonds or green bonds are usually public bonds that are earmarked to be used to sustainable projects. And this is an increasing trend too. We have in Madrid and Barcelona, they have done these green bonds. We also have the National Loan Institute that has also launched green bonds. We have in Lithuania a green bond issue that was for the whole country. So it's a current trend for the public authorities to get money to be invested in this. And this kind of bonds, they are really monitored that they are reaching the target and they are reaching the expected impact. So it's a good way also to make the difference in that phase. Okay, green loans, what does it mean? Well, we have green loans for residential sector, for like eco mortgages or green mortgages. What they do is that they link the interest to the energy efficiency of the building. For example, if my building is highly energy efficiency, I will have a lower rate. And so this way they are like awarding this kind of, well, they are putting this on the table. And we also have for SMEs some loans that maybe are not labeled like green loans, but they are an innovation that can also finance a specific business and SMEs for installing PV panels or renovating the building. Well, also another trend, clear trend, is what I was telling before, the one-stop shops that provide in a single service technical, financial, and legal advice and accompany during all the process the target groups, different target groups. We have one-stop shops that target public bodies like the Ecoserveis, which is in France, or Fedesco or Refit, but we have others that target residential sector, which are making the difference in the market. Have you heard about the PACE program? Any of you? No? Because this is a specific financial scheme for energy renovation of buildings in the residential sector, so this difficult sector, which has been put in place in the United States for maybe 7-10 years, and it's working very well there. And it's based that, well, the state or a region or even a municipality, they put available a fund, they make loans to the citizens, and these loans are paid back through taxes. And why is this interesting? Because when you are paying back the loan through taxes, you're reducing a lot the risk of non-payment. And that means that the public actors, like municipalities and regions, they can be more keen to invest and to loan those money to their citizens. And this is the on-tax scheme, and which is interesting also of this PACE program is that the debt is linked to the property, not to the owner. So if I use this program to renovate my home and then I want to sell it, the debt will stay with the property and not with me. So this also facilitates all these split incentives that we were talking about before. The same would be if instead of a public lender, we had an energy supplier lending you money for, I don't know, putting the heating system at home, and then you pay it back through the bill, then it would be this mechanism of on-bill. Renting and leasing, this might be more suitable for other measures or other energy measures that are not energy refurbishment of building, because they need a lot of capital investment in the initial phase. But for some soft measures, some energy service companies offer renting of lights, for example. And this is, of course, more expensive than if you buy it yourself, but in some cases it might be interesting. For example, in the case that I was telling before, for public actors that cannot go in debt or whatever. Finally, I wanted to present you a tool that we have been developing within the Invest project. We have developed a tool to put in contact promoters of projects and investors. So we have a module for the promoters of projects, which is the ENER module, and then you have another module for the investors. If you have a project and you want to get it funded, or you're looking for finance, you will introduce all the data, which is quite simple. I mean, it's 10, 15, maybe 30 minutes maximum, depending on your knowledge of the project. And then the tool will provide you technical, financial, and legal advice. It will also show you the grants that could suit your project, considering your location, and also will provide examples on how similar projects have been funded. Then, if you are an investor, well, you can do your search to find this project according to your criteria. And then you can go to the matchmaking module, and there you can find directly some potential investors. And these are potential investors that you already know that are looking for projects like your project. So you avoid all this work of doing the knock-knock in all the banks or all investors. You already filter to these investors that are interested in your kind of project. So to sum up, well, when looking for finance for energy refurbishment, the first thing that I would look at would be the ownership structure of the building. So if it's private, you'll have several solutions. If you're public, you'll have other ones. Of course, the financial viability. Also show the intangible outcomes, the health, the comfort, what we've been saying before. And the grant, consider that there are still many grants and subsidies for energy renovation, so it's also a good point to look at. And well, here and in the guide that I told you, you'll have this decision tree that can help making decisions on what kind of financial scheme would suit better your project. And you can find it outside in the guide. I think it's in the first page. So okay, that's it for me. Thank you very much.
Is there any specific questions or yes?
Yes. Well, I live here, so I suffered the different political regimes on the country that changed a lot the energetic political of the country, that leads to a lot of problems to the people that invested in renewable energies. Mm-hmm. So I heard on your presentation about financial objectives related to money, but here the energetic companies are growing and growing and growing the prices, and even if you have spent money in reduce your consumption has reduced, but your amount of saving is not reduced, even increased. Do you have any solution to that problem?
I hope so. No, that's also also a problem for the energy service companies offering the energy performance contracts that I told. I mean, this is a very important business model that is going to strike in the market, so it's interesting to talk about it. But this is one of the main issues, because you are having the whole business model based on your projections and your estimations of energy savings and related to the costs. So if you cannot accurately calculate this cost in the future, you can have a lot of problems justifying all the process for paying back these measures that you are installing to a third person, but that you are taking this financial risk for them. So yeah, well, there are many implications at the macroeconomical level. So it's difficult to do something about it. But yeah, it has to be taken into account in energy refurbishment specifically, because you have a lot of years of payback, so you have to take it into consideration, and you have to take the worst case scenario, and then you will extend your payback to 20 or 25 years maybe.
Do you have any data about the comparison of the savings against the prices? Compare tables,
yeah,
with registered savings and prices of the energy here in Spain or in European.
So how the savings were projected and how they were in
yeah.
reality? Yes, I mean,
well,
as I understand
there are
the
several methodologies. They are like protocols, certified protocols that you have to follow and so on. So it's kind of more or less standardized, but there's still a risk always, because you cannot predict some things. So, but there are protocols to foresee that. The IVMP. This is like a secure password for a Wi-Fi.
I'm sorry. You have to think also that if you do an improvement and you're saving 20% of energy by kilowatts or whatever, a measurement of energy, and you're still paying more in money, if you haven't done that 20% of saving, you will be paying even more.
Yes.
So the savings will be there, even if it's not really a lower money on how much you pay. You can always, I guess, I don't know if that has been considered, how much you will be paying extra if you haven't done that.
Yes,
Because
it's
that
more,
calculation
but
can always
it's
be
less
done.
more.
It's less more, yeah. But you have to be able to show this to the people, because otherwise they don't value the service. So you have to be able to do those different scenarios, and then you see clearly that, okay, I'm going to pay more. That's a fact. But I can pay that more or that more. So.
No, but I think he was asking, like, let's imagine a scenario. And a friend of mine actually got through this scenario. He lives in a building with 12 apartments. He owns one apartment, and he wanted to retrofit the whole building with an attic system, a simple system. And he asked me to make his calculations. What would be the new U value for the wall? Well, it would be interesting to know, taking into consideration, let's invest in 5 centimeters. What's the saving for everyone? If I invest 10 centimeters or 15 or 20, what are the savings? I think it's what you're asking, but it's a scenario that you have to put for almost every case. So for a whole building is very difficult to estimate.
My question was indeed to put in the table the fact that the many financial companies looks for money, and here is not the money. Here is the real saving. So if you sign a contract related to the money, you are not signing.
Usually the contracts are kilowatt hour. You're signing savings on kilowatt hour, not money. It would be suicide.
Exactly.
But
Can I say something? Because actually, Michele already spoke about energy team, the product, the solution. But whatever we strongly suggest for over 25 years, before you need to detect your energy consume, all the parameters inside your building or your company, whatever, and then you plan to change the technology. So many times people propose different technology to improve, to make the saving is right on the paper. But definitely what we strongly suggest, before you need to take the data, then change the technology, make comparison. So imagine to have, we need to change the light in this big building. Doesn't have any sense to change all the lights straight away on the paper. I will do it just in this room, I put the technology, I check before and today, by changing the technology, I will have really the saving. I can forecast if I do the same scenario for all the room, all the area, my saving will be, and then you can make an investment and decide if this technology is good for you or maybe doesn't have the good of return of the investment, and you're looking for different technology that will give you the payback as you expect. So many times the big mistake is to change all the windows. Yes, maybe would be a good reason to make on the field change the window in just one part of your building, take the temperature outside, inside, see the lumix or whatever is involved, make your estimation, and then you plan to change all the technology. So that one. So we are a company that got monitoring, so it's a big group because we are part of FARC, Renewable, and it's a PC contractor. So they take care, they make the investment, but at the same time we are part of the group because we put our technology to make sure that the investment made by the head office it doesn't have any sense. In case there is something also maintenance, so you need to always have a solution that detect the performance, give you every day a feedback about your strategy. Sometimes on the photovoltaic plant, people doesn't put any monitoring solution. That one is crazy. Maybe I notice on the field, in the real life, some fuse will be broke. And the maintenance guy is going there once a week. Put, a few thousand euro of technology that will send you input, say go because something goes wrong. Doesn't need to go there every day physically. You spend time, you spend money for your car, petrol, or whatever. You got the system, few thousand euro. But today, the problem of everyone, before to put a monitoring solution, they ask you, how much is it? What I will save if I put 1,000 euro of one device. They never think about what really, why I need something to view the data. It's like the car. Many years ago, the car doesn't have an indication. Now you got plenty of information. But in this way, you can manage to save money. You can, go speed as you want, depend of your money in your pocket. I go slowly, I save money on petrol, and I do more kilometers. But if you don't have an indication, you go like a crazy, accelerate, brake, blah, 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 and you spend more money. So everything is, if I manage to answer back to you, is, first of all, any strategy need a monitoring solution. When you did, and it doesn't need to be one monitoring solution, you need to be with good data. So don't save 100 euros. Sometimes people complain, because we are made in Italy, of course, so we are a little bit more expensive. No, but in China, I find something that is cheap. Okay, you save today 10 euro, but if the data is a fake data, and there is already a mistake on the measurement, you imagine that this mistake will be dragging for 15 years, because when you put a Swiss solution, we hold for 15, 20 years. So this maybe 1% lose during the detection of data will be dragging over 20 years. So means 20% saving. So good quality of monitoring solution to forecast.
My point is that we must pay the focus on other things, not the money. Okay, if we put all the focus in the money, in the saving of money, we are doing the things very wrong. Okay, so we need to think in other units, not only money. And the other units are related to the climate, related to the other problems that we have. Indeed, that we are not saving energy and we are hitting the
Yeah, but
planet.
the final customer
Okay.
is always thinking about money. Okay, doesn't work. So you need to protect and say you're going to save
Yes,
over
yes.
many years.
But you can think about movement of the investment to make other things. So
The
the problem
interest
is
is
the
from
problem
the
is
government.
here in Spain. Here in Spain, all the presidents have jubilee in energetic companies.
Mhm.
Okay, so this is a key sector, and this is a very big problem
Yeah.
because they don't want to reduce their benefits.
I think you're both true, because that's completely true. Finally, the money leads, but if you don't offer other things, they won't do it. My mother renovated his home last year. He didn't care about energy. He only cared about aesthetics. So if you don't start talking about comfort and these kind of things, people might have the money, but they don't do it this way. So, and also just a point on your case, there's not only the energy savings that you're producing, but you are increasing the real estate value of this building. And this also
Exactly.
has to be shown somehow. And some projects are already working on this with commercial banks to create some kind of a scale to measure this, and to give more value to the buildings that are energy efficient.
Well, you have the scale. You have the A to F.
Yeah, you have to do
energy
it well.
efficiency.
But, yeah, of course.
I agree. It's more of a gimmick.
There was a question over there.
Yes, yes. From your company, Ecoserveis, what is the perception now that private builders from Catalonia to investment in this type of efficient buildings?
So
Now,
the investments from the business sector in energy efficiency.
yeah, the private builders
Yeah.
from Catalonia. What is your perception? Are they open for these new
Wow.
materials, or what is your opinion now in Catalonia,
Yeah.
private builders?
That depends. I mean, they are starting to use more and more this kind of energy performance contracts, so that which are linked to energy efficiency. But I think we still have a lot of work on awareness to the final clients, because it's not the first thing they value when they think of investing money in improving their company. They prefer to, I don't know, renovate the car or the transportation float, or to fix something that it's broken. And it's difficult for, at least for SMEs. We work more with SMEs than with large companies. They have a very short-term vision. So energy renovation is a long. It requires a long-term vision, and it's difficult to get into this market for now. But it doesn't mean that some things are moving, and they are setting examples for the others. So.
And the second question is, in the rest of Europe is increased. The private builders are conscious about this new kind of build and new materials for this kind to build a new materials is more is an increase in other countries like France, like Germany.
Well, in France they have a
respect
lot
to
of
Spain.
experiences. So when I did the research for this Energy Invest project myself, and I really found a lot of examples in France, for example, which was it's our nearby country, and there's a lot of differences in the market, but they have a housing plan which is really specific and have real steps to get to the different target groups, so residential and commercial and so on. Of course, we have here some, but you need this political and regulatory backup to do so, because otherwise people is already reluctant to do investments. They are already reluctant to do investment to someone that they don't really know much about. And if the political and regulatory context is not very clear and the political future roadmap is not very clear, it really makes it more difficult. So yeah, well, I would say that there are a lot of examples in France, also Belgium, in England, but they have a very deteriorated housing park. So this is another context, and well, the Scandinavian countries too. But
It's more easy than here.
it depends. They put more instruments. That doesn't mean that it's easier, but they have also another climate that is may suffer.
And the legislation is adapted to the climate needs.
Yeah, exactly.
They pay much more attention to the climate and the energy demands than we southern countries. Very well, in Portugal is the same as in Spain. So.
But there is also another reason, because like now I speak about the Italian experience. Already it's been done a lot in Italy about enterprise, so company, production. This part is quite very efficient. So everybody, long time ago, already started to put monitoring solution, improve in order to reduce the cost of energy and to be more competitive worldwide.
Yeah.
Now, what is the new era, how a country like in Italy, in Spain, I believe, will be, the future will be to act on the building. In Italy now, they start to think, okay, we already make a very good result on the industrial. Now, which other sector can improve? Will be the public administration, so building. So that one is the new area where the Italian government start to think about try to add monitoring solution, reduce the cost of energy. That one is a good area where we can make energy efficiency. The industrial sector, we don't want to say that it's finished, but already cover at least what 60% of the market. So what the saving, to get a small saving, you need to put a lot of effort. Where if you go on the building, there is nothing. So whatever you do, you already reduce your cost. So easy to act. But of course, there is a government that need to follow and say that I give you incentive to do some action. Otherwise, it doesn't work. There is no incentive, no improvement.
You have to believe it.
Yeah.
Just want to add a few comments. One is this graphic I have here. I look for a certain kind of graphic just in case we can need it. And this one shows the bottom one and how much more households are expending on gas, electric, etc., etc. This is the trend. This is from European average. So the prices from all kind of energy cost are going up. What you were mentioning. And another thing I want to just comment as I don't know what are the difference in the countries, but here in Spain, a few years ago, was not mandatory to make a certification of your house. So if your house is A, B, C, or whatever, you don't know it. But a few years ago, to rent an apartment or to sell an apartment, you had to have a certification. But they don't do it. They just say, okay, if you look at the listing, it says on process, being done. And only when you buy it and you sign for it, then you are, and this is a certificate. You find out later. So that's not something, an information you have to make the decision on buying a house or not. I bought an apartment a few years ago, and I wanted to know, okay, how is this efficient or not? And I wanted to make that part of my decision, but there is no information. It's not mandatory to have it advertised. But if you go to France, and every time I go there, I like to see the listings, you have the picture of the house, and really big, you have the mark on A, B, C exactly. So I guess, I don't know if it's mandatory there or not, but on every listing I saw in France, you have the certification. here in Spain, that doesn't happen. I don't know how that is in Portugal or Italy. You have to have it.
It depends by region.
See? So you are not giving the public the information to make a decision besides the square meters and the location and this and that. You don't here is not giving the information to the public to make the decision also how efficient or to, okay, your house is not efficient, I still want to buy it, but I had to remodel that to get to this level. So I want to lower your price. That could be a tool for buyers also. And it's not taken into consideration. So I just wanted to comment that. And I want to show you a couple of graphics here. This is, for the local ones, you know what is this? And this is Catalonia. It's divided in 4 regions. And to the right, you can see for those that are certified buildings, what kind of rating do they have? And the bigger amount of buildings are type E, which is around 50%. And on the bottom level, you have the remaining 20%, and on the top, other 20%, more or less. So there is a lot of room for improvement through renovation here. The market is out there. And then another key point that I wanted to mention today is that legislation, as was mentioned here before, is also very important. Under circles on the bottom, you can see dates and periods of time. Each of those circles shows a period where legislation has been changed, making more strict limitation on how efficient your house has to be. So every graphic to the right requires more energy efficiency in the house. And that shows on the green level on top. So the more legislation requiring an energy efficient house, or more than before, the more classification A and B you have. So it's really a big driver, the legislation on the local place, to really have this done. It's not just if you want or if you don't want not. You are going to always look at the prices, but legislation is key. So these are the 2 graphics I really wanted to show you before finishing today. Anyone wants to make any further comments, or we should keep our talk through lunch? Lunch, right? Okay. Thank you very much, everyone, for coming today. And we have lunch on the same place. We have the coffee break. Thank you.